Hey, what's up? It's Wilsfer with Abysmal Hymns, and I got Reza Mill back with me as promised. We're going over our top five albums of the decade. That is from 2015 to 2025. So this was more of an exercise in narrowing things down, and really, for me, it was picking a couple albums that were more importance than perhaps others. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on this decade?
Yeah, this was challenging indeed because I've got to admit I only chose a couple between 2015 and 2020. The reason for that is I didn't really start checking out new music until I started reviewing again in 2019. So I was a little bit behind the times for that sort of short window. So, reviewing for Ghost Cult, The Shaman, etc., my own site has been really useful for that. As far as the music's concerned, obviously there's been so many outstanding bands and records. I think it's probably one of the strongest times in recent memory, as far as I'm concerned, especially around the time of COVID. There were so many extraordinary records being put out, especially at a time when, we could barely leave the bloody house. So, yeah, definitely very fruitful. This was a next to impossible task, but I think I managed to scrape together five five records. So,
All right. We'll start us off.
sure. Okay, no problem. Well, let's start off with an album from 2015. So, this is a band called Tau Cross and their self-titled debut. In case you don't know, there's a little bit of controversy. Anyone listening who might know about the controversy surrounding the band, well, one member. Um, I'm not here to talk about that. You can make up your own minds about it. But this was, of course, an offshoot group by Rob the Baron Miller of the Mighty Amoebics, who were like this crust punk, don't know what you call them, crust punk, alternative post punk band. Um, who released an album called Sonic Mass in 2011, and then I think split up again. And then Rob formed this band initially with uh, Michael Away Langevin from Voivod and some other guys as well. And yeah, I mean, to describe this album, it's a self-titled one, and it's kind of an amalgamation, really, of what he was well, continuation of what he was doing with Amoebic. So if you're into sort of like, if you're into Killing Joke and Sabbath and Joy Division, New Model Army, Motorhead, the kind of those sort of groups with some doom and alt rock, then I think you're going to get a massive kick out of what they do. I really like them. When I was in Austin, Texas, back in 2019, I actually saw there was a shop called Waterloo Records, which was brilliant. And I saw this album for sale. I think it was like $10 or something, and I'm kicking myself that I didn't get it. I think I went for Esbin and the Witch instead, which is still good, of course. But I wish I just picked it up for a measly $10. But there you go, live and learn. But yeah, I mean I don't know if these guys are on your radar, Will, but if they're not, then I'd say they'll definitely be up your street, I think.
Yeah, they are because of the Voivod connection.
Sure. Cool.
And I remember reviewing that album and comparing it to Killing Joke, and the good old Baron got mad and
Mm.
wrote some mean comments, but it's how it goes. Those are the occupational hazards, and I don't think anything's wrong with sounding like Killing Joke. I mean, it could have been, I could have
Oh,
said some
he
other
wasn't
things.
pleased. Sorry, he wasn't pleased then with that.
No, no, no.
Fair enough. Okay.
But,
Hey
that's
ho.
how it goes.
I've never
Yeah.
heard an artist necessarily be overly overwhelmed with joy to be compared with other people. I guess everyone likes to think they're truly original, maybe. I don't know. I'm speculating.
Well, it's funny because I had interviewed Away a couple
Yeah.
years previous to this, and I mean, we pretty much just talked about Killing Joke. So
Uh,
I don't know,
there you
but it
go.
is a good album.
It is, yeah. They're just a really intriguing band. As I say, if people are out there, it depends on the kind of person that you are. Or when I mention a controversy, I'm not going to recount it here. There's no point. But
Okay.
I'm sure anyone who's listening knows the band, knows what happened. But I'm not a person who will just avoid listening to stuff because someone said something or thanked somebody, etc. But that's just me. I understand there's other people who take a much harder line on it. I'm just not really. I just listen to music and I'll make up my own mind. But I don't let it ruin my enjoyment. I think it's a fantastic record, and I think the band's great. I think he's a really talented dude. So that's
Normally, anything like that, when people are trying to get canceled, that usually makes me want to dive back into their catalog and
isn't that the irony? Yeah, I mean,
what they're doing. Well, so
yeah,
what's this? I'd
yeah,
forgotten about them, and now this. Okay. I mean, because like the old saying,
yeah.
any press is good press.
Of course. I mean, it's not like I'm plugging screwdriver here. I mean, it's Tau Cross, you know. Maybe he made a bit of a mistake. I don't know. Maybe he was trying to take a subjective view, which I think it probably is.
Right.
Like, let's calm down a bit. But there you go. Well, welcome to the modern day.
Yeah, you can't be subjective
No.
if you're not lined up with one side of the narrative or other. And I think that, if you are lined up even on the opposing side of the narrative,
Yeah.
then people like that better than if you just come out of left field with trying to be logical about something, because then that upsets the apple cart altogether.
Oh dear. Can never please everybody, can
Yeah,
you?
there's no room for reason in this world.
No.
So I'm going to go in the other direction. You're starting earlier. I'm going to start more recent.
All right.
Because I did have two albums from 2024.
Ooh.
Um, I guess I'll go with this one. So there was another album by another band that I was going to put on here, but then listening to this album, I was like, oh wait, this is a more dynamic album. There's more going on. They're not just heavy, but there's a lot of layers and a lot of influences going on. There's some shoegaze, there's some sludge. This is Glassing's album from 2024, From the Other Side of the Mirror.
Okay.
And I mean, if you want to create a subgenre called atmospheric sludge, this is what it would sound like. But not in a neurosis way. There's very little if we're speaking of cancellations, there's very little neurosis influence in this.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, it's a dark, weird album, so of course I'm gonna like it. And I think it was my number one metal album of the year that year. It wasn't my number one album,
Hmm.
but I included that one too. So there
Yeah,
is.
nice one actually. I remember actually covering I think they did. I don't know what you call it, a 7-inch EP called Dire and Sulk,
Hmm.
which covered for the Shaman back in 2022. I remember really liking it, and of course, it was released on the brilliant Brutal Panda label. Yeah, I liked it. It was a very strange sound. They're quite a difficult band to categorize. It's kind of bits of black metal. It's kind of post metal, as you say. It's a bit doomy. So basically, it's dark,
Right.
to put it another way, but just really well done. But um, when you review hundreds of things, you review one thing, you enjoy it, and then sometimes you just move on. But yeah, it's just one of those bands I'll have to dig back into
Yeah,
again.
definitely give that album a listen.
Sure.
I think I talked about it when we were doing that countdown for 2024, and Ghost
Yeah.
Cult, maybe. Who knows? I don't know. The years all run together. But it's a great album. All right,
Cool.
what do you got?
Very good. Okay. Well, I've gotten a little bit softer. And again, I'm keeping this reasonably chronological. So 2019 saw the release of This Is Not a Safe Place by Ride. So if anyone who's listening will know how much I love shoegaze. And these guys were like up there with Slowdive and the Valentines and Lush, etc. They're an Oxford band. They initially split up in about 96. They released a really so-so record then called Tarantula, which is okay. But then they sort of reunited in about the early 2010s, and they've since released, I would say, about two, three more albums. And this is a really great record because it sort of sees them moving more into post-punk, like the Banshees and Pill and The Fall, and especially Sonic Youth, who they're hugely influenced by. And the record itself, apparently, it was inspired by Andy Bell seeing piece of work by Jean-Michel Basquiat. And yeah, just a really intriguing idea. And yeah, I love Ride. I love pretty much everything these guys do, even Tarantula, which is incredibly patchy. But yeah, this is a really, really interesting record. They did an album before it called Weather Diaries, which is it's okay. I'm sort of hit and miss with it, but I think this is a lot more interesting and experimental. So yeah, this was my next choice.
Yeah, Weather Diaries is more Brit poppy almost.
Yeah. Now that's probably why I didn't like it as much.
I liked it, but
Yeah. I
those
guess you
guys are very consistent. So
sure.
of
But
course I am always going to agree with Ride.
yeah, yeah, you can't really go wrong. And of course the band Chrome Waves, who I think you know,
Mhm.
and that is the name of a Ride song. So there you go, a bit of pointless trivia.
There we go. It all ties back together.
Yeah.
This is the next one will probably be pretty predictable for me. If there's an album by this band, I would have to include it in the decade. But it was actually a really good return to form, and that's Songs of a Lost World by The Cure.
Ah, nice.
That's a 2024 release. And yeah, so I mean, that's my any of these like legacy artists with these big sprawling discographies.
Hmm.
What you want in the best case scenario is for it to maintain the integrity of their legacy.
Yeah.
Um, and it did that, and to me, it like almost like picked up after, I guess, what you would expect it after Blood Flowers, maybe.
Mixed in with a bit of disintegration, possibly.
Right, yeah. Even I could say where they should have gone after Wish almost. Um,
Yes.
although nothing against Wild Mood Swings, you have to have your quirky album Love Cats. Mhm.
Yeah, I think that record had a song called Just Say Yes. I can't remember.
Right,
Particularly bad, I think. But yeah, I see what you mean. This was definitely a massive return to form, I'd say.
right. And Reese Gabrel plays on it, who played in Tin Machine.
Ah, sure, yeah, I'd forgotten about that. Yeah, he
Yep.
tours with them at the moment, doesn't
It's
he?
funny though, because live, when I first saw him, I guess it was in 2017, I saw them play with him for the first time.
Hmm.
And he had let his hair grow out because he normally had a shaved head in Tin Machine.
Hmm.
And he let his hair grow out and he has aged and lost weight and it looked like Bernie Sanders. And that was a bizarre thing.
Yeah, yeah, that is. I mean, that's a weird. I like the record, but it's very dense. I would say it's probably the most progressive, quote unquote, progressive sounding record they've ever put out. I like it, but I know some people are a bit, oh, I don't know about this, but it definitely takes a few listens. This is not if you're going into this record expecting like Friday I'm in Love or Boys Don't Cry, then you're going to be bitterly disappointed because it is not certainly not that.
Right, yeah, and you should never expect Friday I'm in Love. I mean, that's a terrible song, but that's one of
Yeah.
the ones where I go to the bathroom break because I don't want the Cure to be happy.
Yes.
So, I want Robert Smith to go off his medication, to start drinking again, whatever it takes.
I have to say the song that I probably find really annoying is Why Can't I Be You from
Yeah, I
Listen
can
to
I can understand that too.
fine. It's not terrible. I'm just like, okay, fine. Just sit through this and get to the good stuff,
Right.
please.
I mean, you know why they do it, and for
Hmm.
the type of songs they are, they're well done.
Of course, yeah.
But, you
It's just not
know,
my taste
yeah, I
necessarily.
think if it also reflects on when your entry point to them is.
Yeah.
So my entry point was like pornography, so
Yeah.
that's what
So
I'm
way
expecting.
off from that. Yeah, for sure.
Right.
Cool. All right. So um the next one, well, I mentioned kind of this was a collaboration. I mentioned both people on this podcast before. And it's and I know I've spoken about this record, but it made my top 10 for the Sleeping Shaman in the year it came out. It's Corpse Flower by Jean-Paul Vanier and Mike Patton. The best way to describe it, it's basically French pop, art pop, lounge kind of music. And that's what I've always loved about Mike Patton. He could be doing zany shit like, I don't know, Fantomas, some weird grindcore thing like that. And he could be putting out an album like this. And I just fell in love with it the first time I heard it. I just thought it was incredible and just showed what a fascinating artist he is for even daring to do music of this variety. Because, like, if you were growing up on him doing, caffeine on Angel Dust, and then you heard this, you'd be like, what on earth is going on? But yeah, props to him. I can't recommend it enough. It's both romantic yet unsettling at the same time, as you can expect from him. So that was fine. And that was from 2019, sorry. So that was my next choice.
Yeah, I remember when I first listened to that album, I thought it was like what Burt Bacharach might do if he was writing something for David Lynch.
Yes,
Um,
brilliant description. Yes.
so yeah, I mean, I like it. I mean, I like pretty much everything that Mike Benn does. We've talked about how I don't like adult songs for voice or whatever, where he's just like
I
making
struggle with
noise. Yeah,
that. Yeah, just burping and like, oh yeah, isn't this great? I'm not sure
right.
about that. I have to say I'm not the biggest Tomahawk fan. I don't know why they've just never quite gelled with me necessarily, but the majority of his work I do enjoy.
See, that's weird because you like the Jesus Lizard.
I
So
know. Maybe
there's
I
a
just
lot of that in that album,
I
particularly the
know.
first one. Go back and re-listen to the first album.
Maybe I will. Maybe that's the problem. I've heard some. I had a friend who also went to see them, and he said they had such a weird attitude and they were kind of a bit, I don't know. But then I guess that's Patton, isn't it? He's not
Hmm.
exactly the easiest bloke in the world.
Hmm.
So yeah, I'll have to bear that in mind. Cool,
Yep,
man.
there you go. All right, so we made it through 2024 on mine, so that means there's a huge gap.
Hmm.
And then the next album is 2017. Um, and I mean, for me, it's hard to talk about this decade without talking about this person because they've had such an impact on music, particularly pop music. And this album was um, a more electronic based album than what you would expect somebody who had come from country music to put out, and that's Reputation by Taylor Swift.
I thought
And
I had a
as soon as I
suspicion.
said pop music,
Yes.
and you're
I was
like,
like,
oh,
ah.
here we go. I mean, since then she's become a pop culture figure, even though she was then, I think it's more pronounced. Like her celebrity status threatens to eclipse her music, and I hopefully my wish for 2026 is she does something about that.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, who she's dated or something.
right, yeah,
Often
that
dangerous.
like why, you know. But yeah, I mean, there's some great songwriting on here as usual, different production choices. Some of it's kind of punchy. It almost is like a more refined version of what Charlie XCX does. You know, which is an acquired taste, but
Well, Charlie XX, oh, I've never even listened to a note of her music. I think she's English, I think.
hmm.
And from what I can tell, and I don't want anyone to have a go at me for this, she adopts a slightly sexier look. I don't know. Is she kind of
Right,
like,
yeah, she's more about twerking than Taylor Swift.
yeah.
Although there is an 808 beat in the song Look What You Made Me Do that, can emulate some twerking. So she was getting into her twerking era here, but
But not sticking her tongue out, hopefully, like that would be.
yeah, no, not like Miley Cyrus. So she's a little more refined. And I think that's what, keeps her elevated above her peers.
Sure.
As big as Charlie XCX could get, as big as, I mean, Chapel Roan or whoever you want to throw in the ring, they lack the qualities that obviously she is refining. So,
Yeah, you're right. I mean, she definitely has, I mean, no disrespect to those other artists, of course, but she definitely has that X factor, that kind of level of charisma that maybe those people don't quite have. Like she has that it's such a cross
So-
um genre appeal to all ages, gay.
right. I mean, I think we can disrespect them because I think that the big difference is a lot of those artists have a team of songwriters
Okay.
that are working on songs for them, and they take them to focus groups who
Right.
say, well, we like this or we didn't. Then they take it back to another producer because sometimes I wonder when I'm looking at the credits of something, of why are there 12 writers and 12 producers on
Mm,
this track?
mm.
And I inquired to a friend of mine about it who works in higher levels of the business, and he said, well, they're not all in the same room.
No.
They're the first people that had a stab at it. Then it went to the focus group, and then it got bounced back to different writers until they kept some of the initial qualities, so that's why they're getting the credit.
Mm. Mm.
But the end product coming off the assembly line is the work of, I guess how many people it needs to take to
Yeah.
write a shitty song? I don't know. Pretty
I mean,
soon, I think that's the thing with AI is going to streamline a lot of that, unfortunately, or fortunately.
yeah, what can you do?
Right. I mean, at that point, when you've had 12 people writing a song, you might as well let a damn computer write it because you certainly can't do it. So,
Well, to be honest with you, I mean, even with 12 people writing the song, the fact that the music still turns out so bloody bland and generic and boring. I mean, is it that much different from AI, really? I
right
mean,
now. Mm-mm.
there you go. Anyway,
All right, here we go. What you got?
my next one, okay, it's a bit more of an underground esoteric choice in some ways, knowing me. And it's a chap called Mac Gollyhon. He's a trumpet player from New York. And this is a guy, I mean, he has played, he was initially a session musician. And oh my God, this dude, if you look at the list of his credits, he's played on Let's Dance by Bowie, he's played on songs by Duran Duran, there's Billy Ocean, there's Grace Jones. I mean, it is just an absurd amount of people that he's worked with. I mean, Sister Sledge, I'm just looking at it here. Loads of collaborations with the band Chic, Sheena Easton, everything and everybody, every genre going. But obviously, he made his money, which is good for him. And then he went on to this slightly more experimental path with his music. So he's got kind of two phases of music. One is kind of, I guess, a more Latin flavored jazz, which with his band Hispanic Mechanics. But then he does this other stuff. I don't know if you've heard of an artist called Grid Failure. Um, but he does a lot of stuff with him, a lot of collaborations with him. And this is one of his solo albums called The End is the Beginning. And that came from 2022 and made the #1 spot in my Sleeping Shaman list. And it's just like this best way I can describe it, it's kind of avant-garde jazz. There's kind of a bit of Lost Maud sort of dark ambient stuff in there. There's kind of like very David Lynchian moments in there. It's just so well put together. I love everything that this guy does. I don't know how known he is. I doubt he's that well known, but he collaborates with some amazing people, as I said. And one of the videos on this album, which is called The End is the Beginning, features an appearance by a guy called Vincent Pastore, who played Salvatore Big Pussy in The Sopranos. So here's a guy, making this kind of music, meeting up with these sorts of people. It's quite extraordinary. So yeah, I think you would really get a big kick out of it. Very dark, dark noir jazz with some not easy listening, but still strangely seductive. So that's Matt Gollyhon with The End is a Beginning.
Yeah, I'm obviously familiar with him from David Bowie,
Brilliant.
and Grid Failure. I mean, I've listened to those albums.
Great.
I did
Yeah.
kind of get stuck when you said Hispanic Mechanic, and that
Yeah,
made me think that it was like going to be a salsa take on Rocky Horror Picture Show.
thankfully not. No, that's kind of
So
see, that's
just from
kind
the
of
line that I can get you a satanic mechanic, I was wondering if that's where he pulled it from.
yeah, that's kind of like more of his sort of Latin flavored
Okay.
project because he's really into sort of salsa and Latin grooves and that kind of thing. That's kind of a bit more quote unquote accessible side, but this is the dark ambient side. So yeah, again, you'll enjoy his work. No, if I
Yeah, And it makes me kind of hope that maybe Mike Patton could do a bossa nova cover album of the Rocky Horror Picture soundtrack. That would be interesting
Yeah,
too.
well, it could improve the Rocky Horror Picture Show soundtrack. Sorry, I'm not a fan, by the way.
I kind of have to be like if you grew up goth in the 80s, that was kind of a requirement.
I think a part of my dislike comes from the fact that when I was at uni, every single goth girl I met was obsessed with that film.
Right.
Rocky Horror Show, theme parties and everything. And oh God, I'd never want to hear these songs ever, ever again, I'm afraid to say. But anyway,
That's how it goes.
how it
Uh,
goes.
all right. Speaking of goth girls, I guess I'll go ahead and do this one because I
Go on.
got 2000. Well, this is a 2016 album. This person has, they're kind of like their identity is kind of like Mike Patton and David Bowie in the sense that they always are trying on new shades of what they do.
Mhm.
And, it goes from folk to, in this case, darker metal leanings. Um, and it's Abyss by Chelsea Wolfe.
Oh, okay. Right.
And yeah, so it's I don't know. I mean, I like it. It's just it works. She kind of continued in this direction with His Spun, which is maybe even harder. But this, there were still some like electronic elements. The songwriting was pretty much perfect.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. She's pretty consistent, so but
Yeah,
that's
I
the
mean,
peak. That's the peak of what she's done in this decade, I think.
sure. And I have quite a few friends who, really, really dig what she does. I'm not quite sold yet, I have to say. I don't know what it is about her that I find a bit annoying. I don't know why. There's just other sort of artists of that type, like Marissa Nadler, that kind of do it for me more. But I don't know. Maybe it's just me being quite a snobby little git as per normal, really. But yeah, maybe want to explore in more detail at another point.
Right, yeah. I mean, I think this or the album Myrrh is a good one
Cool. Yeah.
as far as an entry point. So, yeah.
Sure. Nice one. All right. So I think it's my fifth choice. This is Killing Joke, who we've just mentioned, but it's not an album. This is from 2022, and it was like a little EP they did called Lord of Chaos. And sadly, I think it was the last thing that Geordie ever put out. I think it's their last release to date, from what I can remember. I honestly, the song Lord of Chaos, it is unreal. I mean, if Ministry were trying to do industrial metal, I mean, this to me is exactly how it should be done. I mean, it's apocalyptic. I mean, considering the themes, it's dark. Jazz is absolutely batshit crazy as per usual. I mean, Paul Ferguson is a genius drummer anyway. I think Youth is back. Yeah, Youth is in the band as well. And as I say, I think this was their very last release, like ever.
Mhm.
Uh, I'm sure there's some posthumous thing somewhere, but like fully functioning when Geordie, God rest his soul, was still in the band. And I'm sure also there's some sort of dub things on here as well. I'm just have to have a look at that. But as an EP, I think it really works. It's the video's super creepy as well, as you can imagine, apocalyptic and jazz ranting on about, I don't know, whatever jazz rants on about. And yeah, so and as I say, the main song kicks ass. So yeah, there you go.
There we go. Yeah, that's a good one. I think that it was a good note for them to end on for sure.
Yeah. I'm just looking at the track list actually. Yeah, there's another song called Total, which is also awesome. And then there's two sort of, I don't know, like remixy things. So Big Buzz, which is a motorcade mix. And then you've got Youth doing his usual dub obsessed thing, deleting dub, which is also really good. So the only issue, I've just remembered actually, the only issue I had with this, there's don't think you guys have got this shop in America. There's a shop here called HMV, and they tend to overprice things. And honestly, this thing was about 30 quid. There's like four songs. I'm like, seriously? I mean, I'm not a skinflint. I don't want to like not help bands out, but it's like four songs, you know? I'm like, I'm gonna wait till that price drops somehow.
Right.
I pick this up.
I would have just written their record label.
Probably. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, Spine Farm Records, not
Yeah, Spine. I'm sure Spine Farm would have given a promo, but it
uh
is what it is. I know for some
yeah.
of my favorite bands, I haven't bought a physical album in a while, but I'll go on their band camps and shell it out for them every now and then.
I was just going to say, actually, I've just checked their discography as in Spine Farm. I've just seen that they put out something by Five Finger Death Punch. I don't think I'm going to buy anything else from them ever again. That's nothing to be proud
Everybody has to have one new metal band, I guess.
of. Hey, there's new metal and then there's butt rock.
Right, yeah. So my last one is
Sure.
going to be the 2015 album by a band that's I guess, industrial by definition, but they
Mhm.
don't necessarily fit in that box.
Mm.
And it's Death Magic by Health, um,
Okay.
who've
Yeah.
gone on to become one of my favorite newer bands. Um, they have this droning, androgynous vocal. There's hard guitars. There are very bleak lyrics. So, I mean, I don't know what else I need. That they pretty much wrap it up. This is probably the most depressing of their lyrical content, where they're just, chanting about, how they're gonna die and they can only do drugs and things like that. But yeah, I mean, that's what I want from this type of music. So
Yeah, I'm just looking at the list of genres on here. It's got electro-industrial, EBM, electro-punk, noise rock, synth pop.
yeah, I don't hear the synth pop, but they could. I don't know. I guess if you're very desperate to call it something, you could call it that. If you had no idea what industrial is, the noise elements are really just kind of in the periphery with them.
Yeah.
Although they are noisier live,
Because
but
when I hear the term electropunk, I immediately think Atari Teenage Riot.
I
But
mean,
probably,
I'm sure that they might have grown up listening to Atari Teenage Riot in
yeah,
the same sense that they grew up listening to Nine Inch Nails, you know.
sure. Probably not quite as, in England, we would say mental as that, quite as insane.
Right. Yeah, but I mean, it's more subtle. They're more passive
Yeah,
aggressive. The singer's a little
sure.
guy. The the bass player is, very androgynous, and the drummer is a drummer. So, um, yeah, they have their own personality, and I'm surprised at how big they've gotten,
Mm,
actually. But
mm.
they've slowly inched their way up to where they're like headlining second stages on festivals. So,
Well, yeah, it's not bad at all. I
yeah.
know that, I'm going to put this in a sarcastic way, favorite reviewer, Anthony Fantano, Mr. Egghead, likes them, but that doesn't surprise me because that guy just jumps on every bandwagon going. The
Right. So, and that's the thing for this whole like industrial revival.
yeah,
They were hipster enough to make it cool, you know.
yeah.
And
I mean,
now I
nothing
think
helps.
that they've expanded. They're like, oh wait, but all these metal kids listen to us too. So why don't we get the guitar player from Lamb of God to play on this song? Which, and they make these collaborative albums where they bring on all these other artists to do it, and they've had Nine Inch Nails on one of them, um, or at least Trent Reznor, and I think Chelsea Wolfe has done it too. But yeah, it's all the some of the bands that I don't like that are too hipstery for me, but
Yeah, as I say, that was certainly not a slight on health whatsoever. It's more my distaste for that Pratt Fantana. I mean, honestly, I find him the most irritating guy. It's like if he's recommending something, I don't want to listen to it.
yeah, I
Those
mean,
people.
it's one of those things where even a broken clock is right twice a day. Um, so he's brought up some things that I can appreciate,
Yeah, I know.
but then I think he misses the mark. Like, he his review on Sleep Token being the worst album of the year. Um, I appreciate him willing to say that, but I think
Sure.
that's the kind of energy that should have been applied to like Ghost, you
Oh
know?
yes. A 10 out of 10. Yeah. Yeah,
The Sleep
absolutely.
Token, I think, is really just a marketing snafu, which is probably intentional.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, I've got to admit, I've never really listened to them. I don't think it would be necessarily my
Yeah,
cup of
no.
tea, but I find them less annoying than Ghost. I just think they just do what they do. You either buy it or you're not. Whereas Ghost, I suppose it's because they came from doom metal and were on Rise Above Records as well, and then they just again sold out and just
Hmm.
became worse and worse and worse and worse. And I'm just like, oh, this is horrendous.
It's almost like that's their punchline is pushing that fact in your face.
Yes, quiet and all this stupid Papa Emeritus or
Like, you
whatever.
didn't like our last album? Just wait till we show our manginas on this one.
Very true. Yeah, they really do suck. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a big one.
But,
Anyway,
people like the Bee Gees too, so how it goes.
yeah,
So
that's
yeah, so next up we'll maybe breach some different topics. We've kind of touched on what we don't like for music, so
hmm.
maybe we're going to get into some of our songs. What some of our favorite artists and their top songs. So thank you
Hmm.
guys for watching and like and subscribe and all that stuff. We'll see you soon.